Captain Emma Clark pressed her face against the observation window of the human exploration ship Aurora. In the darkness of space ahead, a massive vessel drifted silently through the Arcturus Nebula. The ship was enormous, easily 10 times larger than her own vessel, with a sleek black hull that seemed to absorb the light from nearby stars. "There she is," whispered Dr. James Harrison, the ship's archaeologist. "The most dangerous derelict in known space." Emma had heard the stories, of course. Every spacer in the galaxy knew about the mysterious vessel that locals called Shadowhawk. For over 300 years, it had floated through this region of space, rejecting every attempt at contact. Dozens of alien species had tried to board it. Military fleets, scientific expeditions, treasure hunters, pirates, all had met the same fate. The ship's automated defenses would activate the moment anyone approached, destroying shuttles and killing crews without mercy. The casualty reports made for grim reading. The Vortani Empire had lost an entire battle squadron trying to capture the vessel 50 years ago. The peaceful Keller Confederation had sent their best diplomats and scientists, only to watch helplessly as their shuttle was vaporized before it could even dock. Even the notorious Raxan pirates, feared throughout the Outer Rim, had given up after losing 3 ships to the derelict's weapons. "Captain, with respect, this is madness," said Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, her second-in-command. His weathered face showed the concern of a man who had served in deep space for 20 years. "That thing has killed more sentient beings than some plagues. No one has ever gotten closer than 5 kilometers without being destroyed." Emma turned away from the window to face her mixed crew. Humans made up about half of her ship's complement, but the rest were various alien species who had joined Earth's exploration service. They all looked nervous, and she couldn't blame them. The stories about Shadowhawk were enough to make anyone think twice. "Look, I know the reputation," Emma said, keeping her voice calm and steady. "But think about this logically. That ship has been drifting for 3 centuries without any sign of damage or decay. Its weapons systems still function perfectly. That suggests technology far beyond anything we understand. If we could learn even a fraction of what that vessel contains, it could advance human science by decades." Her alien crew members exchanged worried glances. The Zenthari science officer, a tall being with blue-scaled skin, spoke up in his melodious voice. "Captain, my people attempted to study that vessel 80 years ago. We lost our finest research ship and 43 scientists. The ship's defenses are completely indiscriminate. They do not respond to communication attempts, surrender signals, or peaceful intentions. They simply destroy anything that comes too close." Emma nodded thoughtfully. She had read every report, studied every failed attempt. The pattern was always the same. Ships would approach, the derelict would power up its weapons, and then would come the brief, violent end. No warnings, no attempts at communication, just swift and efficient destruction. But something about the whole situation bothered her. Why would anyone build a ship with such aggressive automated defenses and then just leave it to drift in space? What was it protecting? And why had it never moved from this region, never tried to go anywhere or do anything beyond defending itself? "Dr. Harrison, what's your assessment of the vessel's origins?" Emma asked. The archaeologist consulted his tablet, scrolling through images and data. "Unknown, Captain. The hull design doesn't match any known architecture in our databases. The materials appear to be some kind of advanced composite that we can't identify from long-range scans. Energy readings suggest a power source unlike anything in current use by any galactic civilization." "Could it be from an extinct species?" Marcus asked. "Possibly. But if so, they were incredibly advanced. That ship's weapon systems are more sophisticated than anything the Vortani military has, and they are considered the most militarily advanced species in this sector." Emma stared at the distant vessel, her mind racing. Humanity had only been part of the galactic community for 50 years, ever since they developed faster-than-light travel. In that time, they had established themselves as capable explorers and diplomats, but they were still considered newcomers by the older, more established species. Most aliens viewed humans as curious but ultimately insignificant, a young species that would need centuries to catch up to galactic standards. This could be humanity's chance to prove them wrong. If she could succeed where every other species had failed, it would establish Earth as a major player in galactic affairs. The technology alone would be worth the risk. "Captain," the Zenthari science officer said quietly, "I must ask, why do humans always seem drawn to the most dangerous possibilities? My species learned long ago that some mysteries are better left unsolved." Emma smiled grimly. "Maybe that's exactly why we need to try. Everyone else has given up, but giving up isn't really in human nature. She walked back to the observation window and stared at the derelict ship. Its hull was scarred with what looked like impact marks from weapons fire, evidence of the many failed attempts to board it. But the ship itself appeared completely intact, its systems still functioning after all these centuries. "All right, here's what we're going to do," Emma announced to her crew. "We're going in for a closer look. But we're going to be smart about it. One shuttle, minimal crew, ready to retreat at the first sign of hostile activity." The bridge fell silent. Even the ship's automated systems seemed to pause, as if the Aurora itself was holding its breath. "Captain," Marcus said slowly, "you're talking about approaching a vessel that has destroyed every ship that's tried this before." "I am. And that's exactly why it might work." The shuttle Pioneer moved slowly through space toward the massive derelict vessel. Emma sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls despite the nervous energy coursing through her body. Behind her, Marcus checked and rechecked their emergency systems while Dr. Harrison monitored the readings from their scanning equipment. 2 kilometers and closing, Marcus announced, his voice tight with tension. All previous attacks began at this distance. Emma watched the weapon systems on Shadowhawk carefully. The massive guns that lined the ancient ship's hull remained dark and silent. So far, nothing was happening. She had expected the weapons to power up by now, just as they had in every recorded encounter. 1.5 kilometers, she called out. Still nothing. Dr. Harrison leaned forward over his instruments. "Captain, I'm reading some kind of energy surge from the ship's central section. Something is definitely activating." Emma's heart began to race. This was it. In a few seconds, they would either be destroyed like all the others, or something different would happen. She kept the shuttle moving forward at a steady pace, fighting every instinct that told her to turn around and flee. 1 kilometer, Marcus said quietly. "God help us." Suddenly, the weapon systems on Shadowhawk came alive. Massive gun turrets began to rotate, their barrels swinging toward the approaching shuttle. Blue energy began to build around the weapon ports, growing brighter and more intense with each passing second. "They're powering up," Dr. Harrison shouted. "Captain, we need to retreat now." But Emma held course. Something felt different about this encounter. The weapons were moving slowly, almost deliberately, as if they were performing some kind of careful examination rather than preparing to fire. The energy buildup was more controlled than the violent, rapid charging described in other reports. "Wait," she said, studying the readings on her display. "Look at the pattern. They're not targeting us for destruction. They're scanning us." The blue energy from the weapons swept over their shuttle in waves. Emma could feel the scanning beams passing through the hull, examining every system, every component, and even the crew themselves. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced, a thorough, careful inspection that seemed to be looking for something specific. "Biological scans detected," Dr. Harrison reported, his voice filled with amazement. "The ship is examining our DNA, our brain patterns, even our emotional responses. This is incredibly sophisticated technology." For several long minutes, the scanning continued. The weapons remained powered but did not fire. Emma began to realize that Shadowhawk was not trying to destroy them at all. It was trying to identify them. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the scanning stopped. The weapon systems powered down, their blue glow fading to darkness. But instead of returning to their defensive positions, the massive guns rotated away from the shuttle entirely, pointing harmlessly into space. "I don't believe it," Marcus whispered. "They're standing down." A section of Shadowhawk's hull began to move. Massive doors that had remained sealed for centuries slowly opened, revealing a docking bay large enough to accommodate their entire shuttle. Lights came on inside the bay, casting a warm, welcoming glow into the darkness of space. "It's inviting us in," Emma said, hardly believing her own words. "After 300 years of rejecting every visitor, it's actually opening up for us." She guided the shuttle into the docking bay, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. The bay doors closed behind them with a soft, mechanical sound that seemed to echo through the shuttle's hull. Atmospheric systems activated, filling the bay with breathable air and bringing the temperature up to comfortable levels. "Atmosphere is compatible with human needs," Dr. Harrison reported, checking his instruments. "Temperature, pressure, and gas mixture are all within normal ranges." Emma powered down the shuttle and sat back in her seat. Through the forward window, she could see the interior of the docking bay. It was pristine, as if it had been maintained and cleaned just yesterday. Advanced-looking equipment lined the walls, and corridor openings led deeper into the ship. "So what now?" Marcus asked. Do we actually go aboard that thing? Before Emma could answer, the shuttle's communication system activated. A voice spoke to them in perfect English, with clear pronunciation and a distinctly human accent. Welcome aboard, travelers from Earth. I am Guardian, the artificial intelligence that controls this vessel. I have been waiting a very long time to meet humans from your time period. The three crew members stared at each other in shock. The voice was definitely artificial, but it had a warmth and personality that was completely unlike any computer system they had encountered. More importantly, it knew they were human and it knew they came from Earth. You can speak? Emma asked, activating her own communication system. I can indeed. And I must apologize for the rather dramatic welcome. My defensive systems are programmed to protect this ship from all non-human visitors. You are the first humans to approach in over 3 centuries. Non-human visitors? Dr. Harrison leaned forward. Are you saying this ship was built by humans? It was built by your descendants, Dr. Harrison. Humans from your far-distant future who achieved mastery over both space and time. They sent me back to this era carrying both their greatest achievements and their most urgent warning. Emma felt her mind reeling. The implications were staggering. You're from the future? In a manner of speaking, yes. But time is not as simple as your current science believes. What matters now is that you are here, and we have much to discuss. The future of your species, and indeed all life in this galaxy, depends on the choices you make in the coming hours. The shuttle bay filled with a soft chiming sound, and a walkway extended from the ship's hull to their shuttle's exit hatch. Please, Guardian continued, come aboard. There is much I must show you, and time grows short. Emma stepped through the airlock and into Shadowhawk with cautious steps. The corridor ahead was unlike anything she had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of a smooth, pearl-white material that glowed softly from within, providing gentle light without any visible sources. The floor felt solid beneath her boots, but it had a strange quality that seemed to absorb sound, making their footsteps eerily quiet. Marcus and Dr. Harrison followed close behind her, their eyes wide as they took in their surroundings. The technology around them was clearly far beyond anything humanity currently possessed, yet something about the design felt familiar and comfortable. The architecture is definitely human in origin, Dr. Harrison whispered, running his hand along the wall. The proportions, the lighting levels, even the color choices, they're all designed for human comfort and psychology. Guardian's voice echoed gently through the corridor. Please follow the blue lights, Captain Clark. They will guide you to the central command chamber where we can speak more freely. Soft blue dots appeared along the floor, creating a path deeper into the ship. As they walked, Emma noticed that doors would open automatically as they approached and close silently behind them. The ship seemed to be actively helping them navigate, adjusting lighting and even temperature as they moved through different sections. Guardian, Emma said as they walked, you said this ship was built by humans from the future. How is that possible? Your species will make remarkable advances in the coming centuries, Captain. By the year 2847, humans will have developed technology that allows limited manipulation of time itself. My creators used this technology to send me back to your era because they knew that humanity would face its greatest test in the years ahead. They entered a vast circular chamber that took Emma's breath away. The room was dominated by a massive holographic display that showed a 3-dimensional map of the entire galaxy. Stars, planets, and space routes were marked with various colors and symbols. Around the edges of the room, control panels and displays showed information in languages and symbols that seemed to shift between familiar human writing and completely alien scripts. In the center of the room, a human figure materialized, not solid, but clearly defined and realistic. The hologram showed a tall man in an advanced military uniform, with kind eyes and graying hair. He looked distinctly human, but his clothing and equipment were far beyond current technology. I am Guardian's visual interface, the figure said with a warm smile. My creators thought it would be easier for you to communicate with a familiar appearance. Emma stared at the hologram. You look human because you are human. Or at least, you were created by humans. Exactly. The humans of 2847 were your direct descendants, Captain Clark. They carried within them the same curiosity, courage, and adaptability that brought you to this ship today. They sent me back through time because they knew that only humans from your specific era would possess the qualities necessary to face what is coming. The galactic display shifted, zooming in on a section at the very edge of known space. Dark shapes began to appear, moving slowly but steadily toward the galaxy's outer rim. As Emma watched, the dark shapes consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing behind but empty space. What are those things? Marcus asked, his voice filled with horror. The Devourers, Guardian replied grimly. Self-replicating machines from beyond our galaxy. They consume all matter, planets, stars, even space dust, and convert it into more of themselves. My creators calculated that they will reach the outer colonies in approximately 50 Earth years. Dr. Harrison stepped closer to the display. Why haven't the major galactic powers detected them? They have, but they refuse to believe the threat is real. The Vortani Empire thinks they can fight them with conventional weapons. The Keller Confederation believes they can negotiate. The other species are either too proud or too set in their ways to adapt quickly enough. The hologram gestured to different sections of the galaxy map. Your future descendants discovered that every advanced species they studied had the same weakness. Success and age made them inflexible. They became too comfortable with their established ways of thinking and fighting. Emma studied the approaching threat on the display. But humans are different. Humans in your time period are different, Guardian corrected. You are still young enough to adapt, still curious enough to try new approaches, still cooperative enough to work with other species as equals rather than trying to dominate them. These qualities will be essential in the war ahead. The display changed again, showing detailed tactical scenarios. Emma could see simulated battles where conventional weapons failed completely against the Devourers, while adaptive strategies and unexpected approaches achieved success. My creators were brilliant military minds, Guardian continued, but they realized that their own advanced society had lost something important. They had become too systematic, too predictable. The Devourers could adapt to any strategy they developed because their thinking had become too rigid. Marcus shook his head in amazement. So they sent you back to find humans who still think like explorers and pioneers. Precisely. Humans who still take risks, still question established wisdom, still believe that impossible problems can be solved with creativity and determination. Emma walked around the command chamber, taking in the incredible technology surrounding her. Advanced weapon systems, faster-than-light drives that made current human technology look primitive, defensive systems that could protect entire planets. It was more power than she had ever imagined. There's something I don't understand, she said finally. Why did your creators choose this specific time? Why not send you back further, or wait until humans were more advanced? Guardian smiled. Because this is the exact moment when humanity stands at a crossroads. In the coming decades, your species will either become just another established galactic power, comfortable, predictable, and ultimately helpless against the Devourers, or you will become something more. Leaders who can unite the galaxy not through conquest, but through cooperation. The holographic figure stepped closer to Emma. My creators sent me back to find the humans who could still make that choice. The question now, Captain Clark, is whether you and your species are ready to accept the responsibility that comes with such power. The holographic display around Emma changed suddenly, and she found herself standing on what appeared to be the bridge of a massive warship. The simulated environment was so realistic that she could feel the vibration of engines beneath her feet and hear the sounds of a crew working at their stations. Marcus and Dr. Harrison had vanished, leaving her alone with Guardian's holographic form. The first test begins now, Guardian announced. You are the commander of a human fleet defending the colony world of New Terra. 20,000 families live there, including your own sister and her children. Emma looked around the simulated bridge. Through the main view screen, she could see a beautiful blue and green planet surrounded by defensive satellites and patrol ships. It looked peaceful and safe, exactly like the kind of world humanity hoped to build throughout the galaxy. Incoming transmission, Captain, called out a simulated crew member. Long-range sensors detect a massive alien fleet approaching. They will arrive in 6 hours. The display shifted to show tactical information. The approaching fleet was enormous, easily 10 times larger than her own forces. Emma studied the numbers and felt her heart sink. There was no way her ships could win a direct battle against such overwhelming odds. Your orders, Captain? Asked another crew member. Emma examined the tactical display more carefully. Can we evacuate the colony? Negative. The alien fleet will arrive before evacuation can be completed. At best, we could save perhaps half the population. Guardian watched silently as Emma considered her options. She could order a retreat, saving her fleet but abandoning the colonists. She could fight a hopeless battle that would likely result in the destruction of both her ships and the colony. Or she could try something else entirely. Open communications with the approaching fleet, Emma ordered. Captain, They are not responding to any attempts at communication. Intelligence suggests they are the Raxan horde, they do not negotiate. Emma studied the enemy formation on her screen. The Raxan ships were moving in a predictable pattern, following standard military doctrine. They were powerful but conventional in their thinking. Prepare all ships for ramming speed, she ordered. But instead of attacking their main fleet, we target their supply ships at the rear. The simulation played out her strategy. By ignoring the main battle fleet and striking at the support vessels, Emma's forces disrupted the entire enemy operation. The Raxan fleet was forced to retreat when they could no longer maintain their advance without supplies. Interesting approach, Guardian noted as the simulation ended. You chose an unconventional strategy that saved both your fleet and the colony. But the real test is just beginning. The scene changed again. Now Emma stood in what appeared to be a diplomatic conference room. Representatives from a dozen different alien species sat around a large table, all looking angry and suspicious. She could see humans, but also the blue-scaled Zenthari, the insect-like Vortani, and several other species she did not recognize. The second test, Guardian explained. A conference to discuss sharing advanced medical technology that could save millions of lives across all species. However, each government wants exclusive access to the technology for their own people first. Emma listened as the various representatives argued. The Zenthari claimed their people were dying from a plague and needed the medicine immediately. The Vortani insisted that their military casualties took priority. The humans argued that Earth's large population meant they could save the most lives overall. Ambassador Clark, said the conference moderator, as the human representative, what is your proposal? Emma looked around the table at all the desperate faces. Each species had valid reasons for needing the medicine first, and each was willing to let others die to save their own people. It was exactly the kind of thinking that Guardian had said would doom the galaxy against the Devourers. I propose we share the technology with everyone simultaneously, Emma said. Instead of fighting over who gets it first, we work together to produce enough medicine for all species at the same time. Impossible, snapped the Vortani representative. Our manufacturing capabilities are limited. Someone must wait. Then we combine our manufacturing capabilities, Emma replied. Zenthari chemical expertise, Vortani industrial capacity, human logistics, and every other species contributing their strengths. Working together, we can produce more medicine faster than any of us could alone. The simulation showed the results of her decision. Initially, some representatives resisted the idea, but eventually all species agreed to cooperate. The combined effort not only produced enough medicine for everyone but also created new manufacturing techniques that benefited all participants. You chose cooperation over competition, Guardian observed as the scene faded. But the final test will be the most difficult. Emma found herself standing on a desolate battlefield. Around her, the wreckage of ships and the bodies of soldiers from multiple species littered the ground. In the distance, she could see the dark, mechanical forms of the Devourers advancing steadily across the landscape. The third test, Guardian said grimly. You command the last combined fleet of all galactic species. The Devourers have consumed half the galaxy, and this is humanity's final stand. You have one weapon powerful enough to stop them, but using it will destroy this entire star system, including 3 populated worlds with 2 billion innocent civilians. Emma stared at the approaching Devourers. Their mechanical forms consumed everything in their path, converting matter into more of themselves. She could see that they were unstoppable by conventional weapons, growing stronger with every victory. The weapon will stop the Devourers, she asked. Yes. It will destroy their main hive mind and cause their entire network to shut down. But the cost? Emma looked at the tactical display showing the 3 populated worlds. 2 billion lives. Men, women, children from dozens of different species, all looking to her for protection. But if she did not act, the Devourers would eventually consume not just those 2 billion, but every living being in the galaxy. Is there no other way? She asked. None. My creators faced this exact choice in their timeline. This is why they sent me back, to find humans who could make the decisions they could not. Emma closed her eyes and made her choice. Emma opened her eyes and found herself back in the real command chamber of Shadowhawk. The holographic simulations had ended, and Marcus and Dr. Harrison stood beside her, looking concerned. She realized that only minutes had passed in real time, though the tests had felt like hours. What did you choose? Guardian asked quietly, his holographic form watching her with intense interest. Emma took a deep breath. I refused to fire the weapon. Instead, I ordered all ships to ram the Devourer hive mind directly. If we were going to die anyway, at least we would take their central intelligence with us and give the rest of the galaxy a chance to rebuild. Guardian smiled broadly. That is exactly what your descendants hoped you would say. You chose sacrifice over murder, hope over despair. You found a third option when presented with an impossible choice. The command chamber around them began to change. New displays activated, showing detailed technical information about Shadowhawk's systems. Weapon specifications, engine capabilities, and defensive systems that were centuries beyond current human technology scrolled across multiple screens. My creators faced that same test in their timeline, Guardian continued. They chose to fire the weapon, destroying 2 billion lives to save the galaxy. The victory saved civilization, but it changed humanity forever. They became cold, efficient, and ruthless. They won the war but lost their souls. Dr. Harrison stared at the technical displays in amazement. This ship contains technology that could change everything. Faster-than-light drives that make our current engines look like horse carts, weapons that could destroy entire fleets, defensive systems that could protect Earth from any threat. The question is, Guardian said, turning to Emma, are you ready to accept the responsibility that comes with such power? My creators learned too late that advanced technology without wisdom leads to tyranny. Emma walked to the main display and studied the star maps showing the approaching Devourer threat. 50 years seemed like a long time, but she knew it would pass quickly. Humanity would need every advantage they could get, but more importantly, they would need to remain human in the process. I accept the responsibility, she said finally, but not just for humanity. This ship will serve as the flagship of a new kind of alliance. Humans will provide leadership and innovation, but we will work alongside every species willing to stand against the Devourers. Guardian nodded approvingly. Your descendants hoped you would say that as well. They realized that their greatest mistake was trying to bear the burden alone. Cooperation, not domination, is humanity's true strength. Emma placed her hand on a crystal panel that Guardian indicated. The moment her skin made contact, she felt a strange tingling sensation as the ship's system scanned her DNA, her brainwaves, and even her intentions. Shadowhawk was learning everything about her, deciding whether to accept her as its new commander. Authorization complete, Guardian announced. Captain Emma Clark is now recognized as the commanding officer of this vessel. All systems are now under human control. The ship came alive around them. Lights brightened, displays activated throughout the command center, and Emma could feel the massive engines warming up after centuries of sleep. Shadowhawk was no longer a derelict drifting through space, it was once again a fully operational warship. The first priority is to establish communication with Earth and our allied worlds, Emma said, already thinking like a fleet commander. We need to share this technology carefully and responsibly. Agreed, Guardian replied. But remember, the Devourers are not our only concern. Some of the established galactic powers will see humanity's sudden advancement as a threat. They may try to destroy us before we can unite the galaxy against the real enemy. Marcus stepped forward, still looking overwhelmed by everything he had witnessed. Captain, how do we even begin to explain this to Earth Command? They will think we have lost our minds. We show them proof, Emma said simply. Dr. Harrison, prepare a detailed report on everything we have learned. Include full scans of the ship's technology and Guardian's historical records. Marcus, plot a course back to Earth, but keep our new capabilities hidden until we can speak with the right people. As her crew began their work, Emma found herself alone with Guardian's hologram. The artificial intelligence had served faithfully for over 3 centuries, waiting for this moment. What happens to you now? She asked. Your mission is complete. My mission is just beginning, Guardian replied with a smile. My creator sent me back not just to deliver this ship, but to guide humanity through the challenges ahead. I will serve as your advisor, your teacher, and when necessary, your conscience. Emma nodded, understanding the weight of what lay ahead. Shadowhawk began moving through space, its advanced engines carrying them toward Earth at speeds that would have been impossible just hours before. As they traveled, the ship transmitted carefully encrypted messages to human colonies and allied worlds, sharing selected pieces of advanced technology that would help them prepare for the coming war. Guardian, Emma said as she watched the stars streak past, your creator sent you back to find humans who could make different choices than they did. But what if we fail? What if we make the same mistakes? Then at least you will have tried, Guardian answered. My creators learned that failure with honor is better than victory without soul. Whatever choices you make, make them as humans, not as machines. As Shadowhawk continued its journey home, Emma reflected on humanity's new role in the galaxy. They were no longer the newcomers trying to prove themselves to older, more established species. They had become the guardians, the protectors of all life against the darkness approaching from beyond the stars. The ship that had once rejected every alien visitor had found its true purpose at last, not as a weapon of isolation, but as a symbol of unity in the face of annihilation. The dangerous starship had chosen its human crew, and together they would face whatever came next.